Hello there, very special good evening to you and welcome to your favorite program. And we always welcome our friends from Grosley in the north to Viewfort in the south. Those of you on the eastern coastline, our friends in Miku and Denry, not forgetting our friends on the west coast, Ancillary, Canaries, as well as Soufriere, Choiseul and Labrie. A very special good evening to you. I'm David Samuels, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we speak with the leader of the opposition and political leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party, the SLP, Honourable Phillip J. Pierre, about a myriad of issues confronting the country at Independence 38 that we celebrated yesterday. The DSH project, his views, CIP, reservations, doubts that he may have, SLP's silence about Jufali, the Deputy Speaker controversy, assuming the role of the leadership of the SLP, the new hospitals, St. Jude and the Owen King EC hospitals, and St. Lucia, the way forward. And of course, we will give the MP an opportunity to talk about Castries East under his stewardship. A lot of topics. I'm not sure that we have enough time, but we will do as much as we can. So we will at some point in time open the lines, but Mr. Pierre has already confirmed that if we are not through the business of the evening, he will come back again very, very soon. So thank you very much. Welcome to Mr. Chairman, and thank you very much, Mr. Leader of the Opposition. What do I call you tonight?
Anything you want, Dave.
Call you Pip?
It doesn't matter.
I can call
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much.
First of all, before we start, I want to really congratulate you on your award. I think I know that you honored by the governor of St. Lucia, by the governor general, and I think you deserve it. I want to congratulate you.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of the party, I want to give you our sincere congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I touche. I very much appreciate that.
Congrats.
Very nice
of you.
You
deserve it. I think you deserve it. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Very humbling.
So
on the question,
yeah.
On the question of humility, one of the things that struck me last evening, it literally blew me away when I heard you at the rally deliver a speech. And the speech was done so there was no rancor. It was beautifully done in the whole spirit of independence. And for the last few hours, friends and I have been talking, and we were trying to wonder when last did we see something like this. I cannot recall in recent history something like that being done, where the leader of the opposition is actually at the podium on behalf of his party, talking to the people of St. Lucia via social media, television, and the people who are present at the event. It was heartwarming, and I just wanted to extend my congratulations to you. And perhaps you might want to give us the genesis of this, because it really surprised me, as I think it surprised a number of people.
Yeah, but first of all, thanks for the compliment. I really am not the first leader of the opposition to just an independence rally. Dr. Gil Regobert did so last year. It was something that when we were in government, we saw that, listen to me, independence is a national thing, and then we needed to bring the country more in a more together fashion. Mm-hmm. And then Gil Regobert addressed last year. And I thought in my speech, I would say, listen to me, we have a lot of problems, but there are many things we have control over, many things. And if, a simple example, if we drive carefully on the roads, there's a direct relation between accidents and careless driving, any and everywhere in the world. St. Lucia, not an exception. You want to believe the amount of money we would have saved, both in terms of medical expenses, emotional loss, if people just drive a little slower, with a little more care and attention. If we stopped, when I was Minister of Infrastructure, there was a time when we took over the repairs of school buildings. You know the amount of money you could have saved if some kids just pulled wires out of the wall, just pull it out, just stood on a sink, just mashed up a desk. No? If we would have stopped littering, stopped throwing garbage in the rivers, we'd have saved millions of dollars that could be used to build for education. So I think that in St. Lucia, what I was trying to say to people, there are many things we have no control of. We can't control the price of fuel. We can't control what Donald Trump does in the US. We can't control terrorism. But there are things we can control. We can change our values. We can become a more community-based country. We can stop the victimization and the vindictiveness that happens. And we must stop the tribalism in the country, where every 5 years, 40% of the people are made to suffer, to cry, to punished, because it's perceived that they voted for someone else. And that was the message I was trying to send. We must have differences. There must be political differences. Everybody can't be on the same side. Everybody doesn't need to be on the same side. There must be opposition. There must be all that. If there's no opposition, the government can't function. But the government must realize that and understand that there will be opposition, but people should not be cast aside. I mean, the level of vindictiveness that happens in our country for political reasons, I think that should stop. And that's the message. I thought independence was a good platform where I should say that, particularly at a time when we have in very challenging economic times, very challenging. And these challenges will continue. And our resources are scarce, but I think with a value change, a change of attitude, we can do a lot more. And that is my basic message.
And it was really a heartwarming message. And you speak about victimization and vindictiveness. This is something that I'm not so sure whether we can blame the politicians directly for that, but it is very, very clear that some of the surrogates of the political parties, whether they are given directions to do it, it always confuses me. And it's really, really heartwarming to hear you say that. So is that a shift? Is that a shift?
No, in fact.
Because one gets a feeling there's so much rancor in the political sphere in St. Lucia that when I heard this, as I indicated before, it blew me away.
Well, in fact, I'll tell you something. Eh? It's surprising that you say that. You know a lot of reasons why the Labour Party has been accused many times of not seeing about its own. I mean, it's something. It's a very funny thing. If you ask some people, they say, "Why did the Labour Party lose elections?" One of the reasons they give it for is they didn't say about their own. You understand? You might believe that, and then on the other side, people say, "Look at what you did." So I think, there are certain things that must go above and beyond politics. I think we should. You see, I think people who are in politics, there should be some ethics among politicians. You understand? Some ethics, like lawyers or even doctors. But politicians have no ethics. Politicians, and the reason why some of them politics has no ethics, politics has a morality of its own, as somebody says, it's because there's too much of a large gap between government and opposition. When you are, I'll tell you something, I'm an opposition MP. Now, I've been on both sides of the fence. If somebody in my constituency tells me tomorrow they want to clean a drain, I can't do it. I can do literally nothing in my constituency, nothing. Now, it's something that you might find very strange. I'll tell you something. I built a public facility in the George Charles Boulevard. That facility, you should know that. You remember, Romanas Lanchico built something, tried to build one in the corner, in the corner by the Marshall Grounds. Remember there was a facility right in the corner there between Marshall Grounds and the bridge? You must remember that. Between the Marshall Bridge? Not the main Marshall Bridge, the one going through by the Marshall Grounds.
Yeah.
There's a bridge there. There's a facility right in the corner there. A little laundry, a small thing.
Okay.
You recall?
Oh, really? I'm not.
Think about it.
Yeah.
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 Right. Romanas built that. Because from that time, people wanted a facility in the boulevard. Peter Josie wanted. Daisy, even from Daisy's time, they wanted. Romanus did it. So when I came to government in 1997, I promised the folks, listen to me. It is, in that area, in the George Charles Boulevard, it is basically impossible unless you spend millions of dollars to give everyone toilet facilities. Almost impossible. It can happen, but it's almost impossible. So we went to the Basic Needs Trust Fund, and they went in and they did a social assessment, and they found that this is necessary. So I went to cabinet and acquired some land from Alexius. The Alexis family wanted to sell the land, we acquired the land. And then we went to the Basic Needs Trust Fund, and they gave us $700,000 to build a facility. We built one of the most up-to-date facilities in the island. There is a place for people who are in wheelchairs. There is a place for babies. It's one of the most up-to-date facilities. That facility has been completed from July or August last year. They refused to open it.
The facility at Marsha
At the George Charles Boulevard
has been completed
from
since last
August
year.
last year, and it's not opened.
What's the reason for that?
Because Phillip Pierre built it.
You think so?
I know so.
You really think so?
I know so. And I can give you now. You know, I can give you several examples. I can give you several examples of that. Now, this is, I mean, Phillip Pierre would never use the facility. He's not going to use it.
So why haven't you brought this up in Parliament? Why don't you get the opportunity to bring it up?
We've said so.
In Parliament.
I've said so. But listen to me. The amount of things listen to me. We had, you know, when I say these things, people saying that I'm playing politics. But I defy anybody to say that's not true. There's a caretaker program where they pay people to clean the sides of the road. When he came to government, they fired all the people who were there. And the parliamentary rep. No one has come to me and listen to me. We are changing these people. Do you have one person? I understand the politics. I've been there for a long time. If there are 10 people, I'd expect to get 10. I might get 2, but give me one. Give me one. None. You understand? And these things are institutional. I mean, it's a serious thing. There is some work that started on the Mon. If you go by the Chef Harry area there, you understand? I went there and I asked. I didn't even know what was happening there. I had no idea. I didn't know because nobody consults me. Nobody. So I asked, what is happening there? You understand? So one of the guys who said to me, the other guys working there said, listen to me, this and that, that's the journey is going there, etc. Somebody must have passed and saw me talking to the guy and believed that because I was Minister of Infrastructure, I had some say in that. They stopped it. They literally stopped it. In the Castries City Council, in the Castries City Council, I supposed to have a rep in the Fire City Council. They hold meetings and they don't tell her. Last week they wrote me and said to me, listen to me, you can come to meetings every Tuesday. But what I come to meetings to do? They employed city police. No one has come and said to me, can you recommend somebody for me? Everybody who is a city police.
I see.
Right? That's all I'll say. Like I don't, because everybody must work. So the thing is, now I'll tell you something. So what happens when we get into government? People say, why aren't you doing the same thing too?
I see. So victimization has been sort of institutionalized. But which party would you think could be described as being more guilty where that is concerned?
But if you have to see what the supporters are saying, our supporters, they would say it's the Niagara Party. Our supporters complain every day. That's a fact. You wouldn't believe it. People don't believe it. But you all do not take care of your own. You all take care of your own. You know, that's what they tell us all the time. You know, there's a program called the Constituency Development Program. It's a Taiwanese program, Taiwanese funds. No one has called me. No one. and said to the parliamentary rep or any of our 6 parliamentary representative, what do you want, is there any project you want on the constituency development program? And I can assure you, no contractor who has the slightest inclination of being my supporter will get a job. Now, these are real things.
That's quite an accusation, eh? That is quite an accusation. And it bothers the mind that this little 2x4 place, 238 square mile island, and you have all of that. But wouldn't you agree that there are some people who are political appointees, and then when an administration changes, then heads are going to roll?
No, that is fine.
Could I give you an example? Could I give you an example of something that happened? As you know, I'm a Radio St. Lucia boy, and that's how I started many years ago. And I was at Radio St. Lucia doing a program called The Agenda. On that program, you were a guest on that program a few times. We had a lot of Labour Party surrogates, Alvina Reynolds, Emma Hippolyte, Musa was a regular caller. We had Dr. Lewis, Castries South, Dr. Long, Ancillary Canaries, Dalson, Soufre, I mean, you name it. I tried to be as balanced as I possibly could. And you know what? I was even getting blows from within the United Workers' Party cabinet ministers. Oh, how come David's allowing, so many of these Labour Party fellas on his program and all that? You were on the program. Lots of Labour Party people were on the program. Surrogates were calling, Tom Walcott, several of them. The Labour Party wins the election in November of 2011. Christmas is approaching, so I say goodbye. I'll see you in January. I go to January to have discussions about the possibility of restarting the program. Up to this day, nobody has said one word to me. They just wrote to the general manager of Radio St. Lucia saying that they were going in a new direction and they want to terminate all talk programs until further notice. I have friends on that board who said to me they objected to the idea of David Samuels being removed from the program because David Samuels was doing a relatively good job embracing people of all political persuasions. Guess what? Jimmy Fletcher, the minister, did not want to hear anything of it. He ordered program cut, stopped. Up to this day, the permanent secretary, the government, no one has said one word to me. Program was just terminated. So you see, what basically, I felt it, but I could have gone on the air and make a lot of noise and stuff. Not my style. I said, you know what? Victimize. That's obvious victimization. No explanation. If somebody fires you, there has to be some explanation. None came.
Okay. If that's...
I want to give you that example.
Okay.
If
that happened, it's unfortunate. But at least you're David Samuel. What about a grass cutter?
What's your point exactly?
The point I'm making, David Samuel has talent.
But the grasshopper grass cutter has talent as well.
To cut grass.
No. Listen, Phillip, you're not being fair.
You know the amount of people.
You're not being fair.
You know the amount of people. That's all they do for their living. The STEP program. That's all they do for a living. You know what? Listen to me. When we put a STEP program, people criticize us. Many people criticize the STEP program. And I know as time we will go speak about it. But the STEP program was a direct intervention in the market to balance the demand and the supply, right? Because you find St. Lucia's economic transition has not been well described. In 1992, the country got $3 million in bananas every week,
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
In 1997, the country didn't get 1 million. So that economic dislocation happened in the country when the Labour Party got into government in 1997 is something that's not been properly written. The STEP program was a means of taking that surplus labor almost and putting it and getting it involved in doing something to create certain balance and stability in the economy. You must understand, in 1997, and again, and I know you want to ask me about what the Labour Party has done, you ask me about Kenny Anthony, etc. In 1997, Dave, about 4,000 children or 3,000 wrote the combination examination. Right? Now, out of that, about 1,002 or 1,003 passed for secondary school. In our time, it was worse. You know that. In our time, it was worse. The amount of guys who were bright and couldn't go to college.
Sure.
You remember that?
Of course.
And then they were, bright guys.
Yes.
And before our time, Julian Hunt and these guys, brilliant guys, couldn't go to college, they couldn't pay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in 1997, when we came to the government, there was that 1,000 or so students who couldn't find secondary school, Now, Kenny Anthony's legacy will go down as a guy. Do you remember the shift system?
Yes.
Primary school, children go to school half day. Mm-hmm. And people have told you, and tonight we're not blaming anybody, we're just looking at the facts. People have told you, listen to me, part of the reason why this crime thing surged is because children lacked parental guidance because they went to school half day, either morning or in the afternoon. Kenny Anthony's government is the one that put universal primary school education, universal secondary school education, That was under Kenny Anthony. Building on the foundation that you want to see John Compton build on that foundation. Mm-hmm. So you must understand the Labour Party caught an economy in serious transition. People have forgotten that. Because, you see, we live in a quick fix society. Let's look at plain fees and plain facilities. You and I grew up on the Marshall grounds. And VG, they used to call it the SAB.
Well, you played at Marshall, I played at VG.
Right. That's why I play cricket for college. Mm-hmm. You understand? On the SAB, to get Michael Francis and these guys. Mm-hmm. On the SAB, on the Marshall ground. Now, look at that. We had 2 stadiums. So this country has come, schools. Before, schools were built by aid, comprehensive school, built by the Canadians. Mm-hmm. You see, the Hess schools, you understand? Yeah. Mm-hmm. We had to borrow money to build schools. Mm-hmm. Then, to ensure that we had universal secondary school education. Even something as mundane as a prison. You had to borrow money to build a prison. What is passing? There could not be a prison. So you must understand that this country has come through. Our government, the Labour Party, has not been a perfect government. Nobody's perfect. But the Labour Party and Kenny Anthony have made a serious dent into the social and economic fabric of this country. It's John Compton too. But to make it seem as if the Labour Party has been a complete failure in government, is not right.
I don't think anyone can say that the Labour Party has been a complete
Some
failure.
people think.
I guess, you heard talk.
Yeah. Telephones. Look at this. Look at this
Yeah.
technology. To make a call to England was $6, Remember? When I studied, my parents, I used to go, hello dad, hello mom, how are you? It was a revolution started in Dominica. With a fellow called
it was
Mappin,
sweeping the Caribbean.
and Calix George hugged it up and moved it. You understand? So I think the history books, the history has to be a little more. The history must be written.
So are you concerned about that? Are you concerned about Kenny Anthony's legacy and that history might be unkind to him, and you would like to ensure that is not the case?
I think Kenny Anthony should be treated fairly.
And you don't think he is right now?
I think sometimes he's not. Yes, and then I don't want anybody to tell me it's because, you see, I am the leader of the Lucia Labour Party now, right? Now, to lead, you must follow. There is no one, if you can't follow, you will not lead. Now, you cannot condemn a man because he showed loyalty to his party and his leader. And I expect the same. I expect the same because I showed complete loyalty, not to Kenny Anthony, but to the ideals of the party and the party leader. Because the leader of the party is not chosen by people, it's not chosen by me, it's chosen by the delegates of the party. So when the party chooses a leader, you should. I've not agreed with everything Kenny Anthony has done. Kenny and I have had some disagreements, some discussions, but why do I go into the open?
No, we don't hear about these.
Why must you hear about it?
Well, suffice it to say, there is the perception that Kenny Anthony just did things. Perception, whether that's fact, that's a different matter. He just did things, and he did not. The feeling was confer with his other colleagues, and there is evidence of that.
Okay. Sometimes
there's evidence of that, and then there was just a feeling that Phillip is just there letting the man do all of this thing. Phillip not, the man just doing what he wants, and Phillip is just there like a deputy. What kind of deputy is that? You heard that,
of course,
and you still do
because people don't understand one cabinet government. They don't understand cabinet government, and they don't understand that in leadership, if a man is a leader of something, sometimes you must give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a leader. You understand? I'm the leader now. I need the benefit of the doubt. And I will get the benefit of the doubt from my computer. That's what leadership is all about. If not, you end up in a situation where it just crashes. But how Kenny Anthony gave me some of the most important ministries in the country, I was Minister of Tourism, Commerce, Investment and Consumer Affairs, These are some of the biggest.
So because of that, you're really like thankful to him.
No, I'm saying.
So because of that,
no. It's not about thankful. What you said that people are saying that Kenny allowed Kenny to do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
But I'm saying to you, Kenny Anthony gave me, and then the same thing for Alan Chastney, prime ministers. You see, people talk without understanding the system in which they live and work in. Prime ministers appoint ministers at their own discretion.
Yeah.
It's the only job where they give you no notice when they fire you. You see, the prime minister gets one man says, "You see, you go home." Now, I've got this. If Kenyan did not have any confidence in me, you think he would have given me to run these important ministries most of the time? And I've run a mission infrastructure. If you look at Philip JP's track record, because I'm not a talking guy. You have to go down and read and look at the history of my performances in the ministries that I've held. You understand? But I've never written. I don't talk about it. I don't. But you have to judge me by my performance. Today, I am the best. I go to the leadership. Come to the leadership of the party, or come to be wanting to be prime minister of St. Lucia with more experience than any other person before my time. There's been no one in St. Lucia who's been better prepared in terms of working in the government system to be prime minister than me. There's nobody else. And anybody can check it and find out. The ministries that I've held, I've been a 20-year parliamentarian. And we can talk about transforming my constituency. You can talk about the ministries I've held, what I've done in these ministries, how I transformed the tourism industry to a philosophical position of the benefits of tourism must accrue to as many people as possible. How I transformed the way we marketed St. Lucia. Under my watch, St. Lucia had its longest stretch of investment. You can even Cocoa Palm came on the me. In fact, I don't know if they have taken it out, but there's a plaque there. I don't know if they've taken it out now. But there's a plaque up there, right? Begans Resorts, Capella at the time, a series of hotels. You understand? Investment came under me. When I was Minister of Commerce, we expanded the Bureau of Standards to where it is now. The Bureau of Standards, the Manufacturers Association, I caused the consumption tax, the way it's calculated in manufacturing, I caused that to change, to help manufacturing. I formed the Manufacturers Association. I supported it. There are a number, so...
If you've done all that,
yes,
Philip,
and
you
that's factual.
and you need to be commended for that.
It's factual.
If you've done all that, why did your party lose the June 6th general election?
Because, as I hinted to you before, the party, our party, did not explain to St.
Was Kenny
Lucians.
Anthony a liability?
I wouldn't say that. I'm not in a position to say that. Well, what I can tell you is that we did not explain to St. Lucians the economic situation in the country.
I'm surprised to hear that. You know why
And
I'm surprised to hear that?
Yes.
Because one of the things that the Labour Party did, and I always felt it was wrong, but they went ahead with it anyway. You have your surrogates, media people, positioned everywhere, some over here, some over there, some and so on. And then you, the MPs and surrogates of the party, just made themselves available only at specific radio television stations for their people who were branded red. They only went to those radio stations, TV stations. And when I saw that, I said to myself, big mistake. Because as you rightly said, the country is divided, 40-40, for argument's sake. And it means that because of the way the country is split, people are, those who are yellow don't want to listen to anything red says, and vice versa. Those who are red don't want to listen to anything yellow says. And so you have the 20% in the middle, the independents and those, the floating voters, they call them, who actually make the difference, you know, when the election ballots are counted and so on. And I always felt, in my humble view, sir, that was a fundamental error. Just having your people go to specific shows, specific personalities with a red label. And I used to shake my head every time. And then when people like me and others invite MPs, your MPs, to shows, they don't want to show up. They have no time. They give it they're pushing your hair. Oh, we'll call you back. Oh, we'll call you. And they never do. And I felt that a lot of those so-called surrogates who were presenting shows did not have a huge following. Yes, they had a following, but the huge following, what you need to do is to ensure that when you come on a program, you have people of all political persuasions listening and watching you. That's the answer. That's the catalyst, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. That was a fundamental error.
Yeah.
I'll send you a bill.
Yeah, no problem. But back to what he says.
I'll tell you what, let's take a break, our
Yes.
first break, and
Sure.
then we'll come back and continue this very interesting discourse.
Sure.
You are viewing Mr. Chairman. I'm David Samuels, and I'm here with the opposition leader in the House of Assembly, the leader of the opposition, as well as the political leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party. We'll be back in a short while. Hello there, welcome back. I'm David Samuels, Mr. Chairman, and let me take the opportunity, I don't think I've had the opportunity to say this, but to wish St. Lucia, all our fans, all our friends, all of our supporters, all of our advertisers, best wishes on St. Lucia's 38th anniversary of independence. We do recognize that you are a very important part of who we are, making us as successful as we are, and we hope that we can continue to count on your support in the coming years. So thank you very much for your support, and we do appreciate that so very much. Do you want to go into DSH?
Yeah, sure.
What is your party's main bone of contention? Because the feeling is that the DSH, Pearl of the Caribbean people, had been negotiating or having discussions with your team about potential investment in St. Lucia. So why didn't your party come out, speak to the people and say, hey, here's what, it's not airtight as yet, but we are negotiating something here, we will keep you informed?
Okay. All right. Before I just go, I just want to make a point where we ended the last time.
Sure.
The last time we speak about the party, the VAT, value added tax. The government got a beating over the value added tax. A beating, right? It was probably one of the main reasons why people voted against us.
But you cannot blame the people, because Dr. Anthony is quoted as having said what kind of tax it was.
He did say,
and that came to that haunted him.
He did say that, but he also said that because of the circumstances under which we were, he had no choice. He said so, and then history will show you that he was right, that he had no choice. So you can say something is bad. It's tough medicine, you know. When our parents give us medicine, it is a bitter taste. You remember when you're on summer holidays, and your mother says to you, listen to me, moi savent ça pas bon en bonjour savent, mais on n'y peut pas. You understand? Now, so the Prime Minister at the time said, listen to me, that's bitter medicine, but listen to me, you have to. You must understand. And again, the story of the economy has not been told. And you see, we're going to be listening to a budget very soon. And you see what I'm saying. The revenue shortfalls. Yeah. The government is simple, revenue and expenses. We just had to make the revenue, and the revenue could only come in a direct way for value-added tax. What has the government done? They've reduced value, but the jury is still out. What happened to the zero-rated items?
Yes.
So you know,
I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Good. So
and the jury is still out, and I do concur with you.
Yeah.
But
so DSH. Yeah.
But I've always felt before DSH, as you mentioned about Dr. Anthony, I've always felt that Dr. Anthony has never been very good at communicating with people. Communicating people, in a very effective, edifying, educational, informational way. He always liked, there was a sense, that's it. He was talking down. He was talking down to you and not talking at that level with you. And a lot of what he said, a lot of what he did, I think there was pretty much a good understanding of what he wanted done. But for some reason, he was not able to get people to warm to his ideas and his suggestions. It was sort of delivered in a kind of arrogant way. There was this arrogance. And I think people he turned off a lot of people. A lot of people.
Yeah, but
when this man became Prime Minister in '97, there was so much goodwill for Dr. Anthony. A lot of goodwill all over the country. And I just saw this fizzling.
But he was Prime Minister for 15 years, eh?
Yes.
So, I mean, he had to be doing something good.
Yes. Well, but you have to look at the circumstances, and if you'll give me an opportunity. Anybody could have won the '97 general elections. Believe you me. If you look at what happened, Compton's retirement and Vaughan Lewis coming on the scene, if Dr. Julian Hunt, that was his time, he may not have got the 16-1 because Kenny Anthony radiated a sort of youthfulness, and he was in many ways, he was looked upon as a younger Compton. And people love that. People love a new face, a guy who was part of the 1979 administration. And consequently, people young, vibrant, yes, man, let's go with this guy. 16-1. I've always said, if Julian Hunt had run, or even if you was the political leader of 97, the Labour Party would have won the elections in 97. You may not have got 16-1, but believe you me, you would have got a 2/3 mandate, 12 seats, 13 seats. In 2001, what happened? And of course, one has to give Dr. Anthony credit for what happened. He recognized that the opposition forces were not together. And then he realized, he called a snap election. Had he not called that snap election, the tide was already changing, Philip. Had he not called that election, he would have been in trouble. He knew it. And the rest is history. I just thought I should throw this back at you, you know?
Right. But
DSH. Yes.
DSH. You see, when you are a prime minister or minister of investment, you know the amount of people come to you? So if you have to go on your afternoon, do you remember the United Workers' Party used to announce things? Remember when Malatok announced, a prison as we speak? And when Alan Charleston announced 2 hotels in Miku? You understand? That is what happens when you go and announce things too quickly. So you take your time. Now, DSH. Truth is, the DSH developers came to the government about 18 months ago, 18 months from June. The DSH agreement, the DSH guys came with their agreement, not agreement, with their proposals is the word I'm looking for. Put the proposals on the table. Initially, the proposals to build a horse track. We thought at the time that it was not feasible, or it didn't make any economic sense to build a racetrack alone, a standalone racetrack. So they asked to put in a hotel. So when people come to watch racing as part of the project.
Okay.
Remember at that time, there was no CIP yet. You recall? There's no CIP. Now, these discussions, these proposals, had to be, it was a new venture. It was massive. You had to have due diligence. There was no CIP. It had to be financed, had to be a finance sector. So these negotiations dragged and dragged and dragged and dragged. Like most negotiations drag and drag and drag. When the Labour Party got the Royalton Hotel, you know, the old
Club St. Lucia,
which is going to be open soon. 500 people. I'm very happy for them. I'm very happy. I'm very proud of it. These discussions dragged with the old as minister. From the time I was Minister of Tourism, we were speaking to Ralph Taylor, the then owner of the hotel. Ralph Taylor was in problems. We were talking about a liquidator. I was involved in this negotiation from that time, Dave. And Royalton just started when they got the buyer, Sunwing, the buyers. That just 2-3 years ago. I was Minister of Tourism when these negotiations started. I was around then that time.
That's quite a while, eh?
I remember that. Look at what happened. So when these investments come, right? Because Ralph Taylor, in 2000, we lost in 2006. Ralph Taylor was here already. He had owned a hotel. He's talking about changing buyers, all kinds of things. When you start these negotiations, any experienced government minister will tell you, you don't announce them, because it will fall flat in your face sometimes. People come to you with all kind of ideas. You're a government minister, and when you're young, you just start, you get very excited. What is going to come, and you go and announce it. When you announce it, you end up, people say you are a bluffer. Oh, them politicians bluffing again.
I see. So that was the concern.
That was the concern. So we did. Now, but truth is, but I want to tell you, the Labour Party has been responsible for the most generous incentives and investment facilitation in the country. We even formed the Office of Private Sector Relations, OPSR, with Agent Oji as a head, to facilitate investment in the private sector. All the buildings and castries that got, most of them that got a facelift, were done through incentives through the OPSR. Yes, okay. Incentives. So the Labour Party is not shy on incentives. The Labour Party, after we had a stimulus act, a hotel tourism stimulus act to augment the building of hotels in the country. We had a stimulus act number 2, where we said to investors, if the investment was a particular limit, a particular value, we would have waived value-added taxes for them. It was criticized by the then opposition in the United Workers' Party, saying we were giving too much. So we're not shy on investment. And we understand, because we were the ones when in government, when the banana industry collapsed. We're the ones in government. So we understand what it means to have private sector involvement in the country. And that is why we've been striving to do that. So the DSH agreement, we could not, because you see, it's a massive agreement. It's 700 acres of land. 700 acres of land. And there are certain things in that agreement. And we are saying, listen to me, we have no problems with DSH, but it's a bad agreement and it must be negotiated. We have never said, the Labour Party has never said that we do not want development in Vieux-Fort, or we're saying we have good reason to say it's a bad agreement.
So what is your main bone of contention?
First of all, you cannot give one developer 700 acres of land for 25 years. First of all, not right. Secondly, you can't give him exclusive rights and say no other person can open a gaming facility in the country because he has one there. 2. Thirdly,
but aren't there other gaming facilities in St. Lucia?
No more. Exclusivity. Thirdly,
so what you're saying is, if it's given to the DSH,
nobody else
can have it?
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
In the agreement.
But all of that can change, clearly.
Well, the government must change it. Yes. Nobody's signed the agreement. And I want to come back to the signed agreement and the framework and the non-framework. We're going to talk about it. Then there's the equine disease free zone. Google it right away. Go in your phone and look for an equine disease free zone. And you will see it's a radius
of how many miles?
5 miles, 3 kilometers. Right? And that must be authorized by the OIE. And then, so how can the government see that St. Lucia will be exempted from the equine disease free zone? Can't. If you talk about thoroughbred horses, how can you have equine disease free zones? So I want you to Google it. Equine disease free zone. Google it. So that's the thing. Fourthly, you have some prize assets like the Nationals, like the stadium, which you're not sure what will happen to it.
There's a big question sign over that.
Then you have the abattoir.
Yes.
Which has to come out of there. $20 million worth of investment. Then you have the escrow account, where, and I come to the CIP, where our CIP money is going to be put in an account that will be managed overseas. And from that account, because the investor in the horse racing business is only going to put $5 million in the investment, and the rest of it will come from sale of our passports. So you and I could do that, you know, if we got to sell passports. Sell of our passports. And you have relaxed the due diligence on these passports, on this sale, and if by July 2018 the investor doesn't sell 200 passports, you have to buy back the investment from him.
200 passports?
200 passports. By July next year. So these are now, if these have changed, the government must come to the public and listen to me. What we signed, we've abandoned it, and these are the terms of the new agreement. But they're not saying that because an agreement has been signed.
But the impression I get is that there are variations of that, of what you've just said. That there is a framework agreement.
There's an agreement. Both of them signed.
You know, and that, but it's subject to negotiations.
That has never happened to an agreement.
Well, that is, well,
But
I mean,
that is the first time in history.
listen, government is made up of not just the government side. Government encompasses opposition. And if the opposition, if the government does not succeed in involving the opposition in this project, in some ways, it's going to fall flat. Because
Okay.
at the end of the day, what I believe the government wants is to ensure that the majority of people in St. Lucia truly comprehend what this project is all about and how it is going to change the lives of a lot of people, particularly in the south of the island.
Okay, first of all, Dave, you're very correct. You must look at the genesis of how the protest started. The protest started not from the opposition, from the concerned citizens of Beaufort.
Ah, but come on, I know that.
That's
but,
a fact.
But, yeah, it is a fact. But we know that there are some surrogates and political
And you'll be
rumblings.
surprised to know that they did not want the opposition to take part. You will be surprised to that.
Well,
and I'm telling you, they said to their party, you stay out of our business because you are politicians.
They really said that to
They
you?
really said that to us.
I would like to hear that for
That
myself.
you, in the beginning, yes, you still a business. You know, and there's something, our country has been so bastardized that people don't even believe the truth when you tell them the truth. It's difficult to believe the truth. Difficult. I understand. It's difficult to believe the truth.
But do you think Dr. Anthony helps when he gets on a platform? You know, I didn't think it was necessary to bring that up. But you get on a platform and he talks about no talks, no talks, no talk. You're not interested in hearing anything. Mr. Shastny should have called me. And you know, like, you're looking for something substantive, and you hear a former political leader talk like that. It's, to me, it does more harm than good. You know, if you want to come and you have your reservations about the project, you stand there and you talk about your reservations. But this shrill thing, no talks, Shastny hasn't called me, and like, I'm not going to, I just felt that's not going anywhere.
When we were forming the CIP, the Prime Minister called the leader of the opposition.
I notice every time I bring up Dr. Anthony's name, you just...
No,
you
because...
you just dismiss me. You
no,
say
no,
nothing.
I'm not. But you see...
Are you
see,
afraid
Dave,
to attack him?
No. What I'm saying
But
to you...
you would not attack
What
him
I'm
anyway.
saying to you is that I cannot speak to what is Dr. Anthony's mind or in his heart. I can't. I can only speak to Dr. Anthony, how he's dealt with me. I can't read anybody's mind.
I agree with you.
So, I mean, these guys, you have to ask him.
I agree with you.
I won't interpret it.
Okay.
But I'm saying to you about how these things would have worked. When you're doing the CIP, the same Dr. Anthony, he called the leader of the opposition, said to the opposition, listen to me, we're going into that citizen.
That was Gail at the time.
That's Gail. Nominate somebody. Let's talk about it.
And then what happened after that?
Nicholas John was there.
Yes.
He was there. And then the legislation ensued. You understand? You see, people always talk about magnanimity. And it's always, they always want the Labour Party to make the first move. When the problem started, the leader of the opposition, the leader of the commission called and said, listen to me, leader of the opposition, we know that you started negotiations with DSH. Okay? Come in, bring your team, let's have a chat. We did it for the CIP. Because, Dave, it's a substantial investment. They say the gross value of that investment is $2 billion. Do you know how many passports you must sell for that? It's a serious thing. So, but what the government did, and in hindsight, I think the government should have understood that they made a mistake. A new government always wants to get off the blocks in a thing. So he just signed it. Locally just signed it. So he should agree. And if he agrees, if he had agreed he had made mistakes, and there are certain aspects of that negotiation, of that agreement, that were bad at the time, you understand? You never know what could have happened. Because no investor wants to come to the country where the opposition and the government is at loggerheads on such a major investment. You remember what happened in the Hess time?
I do remember.
Remember? Compton had to bring it to Parliament. And then everybody agreed, even though Peter Josie did what he did. You know, that's the history that people don't know. Everybody but Parliament. So but you understand, what may have happened to the government is, you see, governments make a mistake and they think electoral success is all. Electoral success means governments, I didn't say UWP, is on the day, more people want to vote for you than the other side. That's all it means. And if it didn't mean that, the Grenada referendum, there's a 15-1 majority in 15-0. There is no opposition in Grenada.
15-0.
15-0.
Right.
And the government lost the referendum.
That was quite extraordinary.
Great.
Yeah.
So governments, and that's government. It's the government's belief, and it's because in the whole system of constitutional reform, the winner takes all, and they underline all as being able to walk on water. And that's not only common to the government, common to governments. They take all as being walking. So they've won the election. So the Prime Minister said, "Oh, we wanted the biggest majority ever." Of course, but there are people who didn't vote, and 37,000 people voted against you, and there are people who did not vote. You don't know where these people are voting. So our system doesn't mean that because you've won election, you can do whatever you want. And that's the mistake that these governments make. And that is why they turn to victimization, because they believe that because they've won for 4 or 5 years, they can do whatever they want. And because of that, they ostracize a big part of the population, and the country doesn't advance. I believe that in the whole system of constitutional reform, if we would level the playing field a little bit, and we can go quickly into the deputy speaker, so we do a lot of things. We can, you see, all these things are interrelated. The only reason why there's no deputy speaker, because no member of the government wants to work for the money a deputy speaker gets paid. That's the only reason. That's the reason for it.
You're moving very, very fast.
I am.
DSH.
Because all of them are interrelated.
CIP.
Yes.
So the opposition has a role to play as far as DSH is concerned, right?
The government should allow the opposition to play a role.
So if Alan Chasney is viewing us right now, or some of his key ministerial appointees are watching us right now, just indicate 2 or 3 things you would like to see done almost immediately to get the support of your party.
In the DSH?
Yes.
I'd like to see the escrow account treated differently.
Okay.
I'd like to not to allow 700 acres of land to be given to one man for 25 years. Right?
Okay.
I would like them to review the buyback clauses in the investment.
Okay.
I'd also like them to ensure that the public access to the beach is respected.
Yes.
And the beach remains available to locals.
Yes.
If these 4 things, we can start to negotiate.
Okay. Now, regarding CIP. I heard a member of your party quoted a figure of 12. He has information that 12,000 passports are part of the deal that the DSH people are given.
No, but if
approximately 12, that's a lot of passports.
And he based
Mr.
that.
Chasney, in a program with me last week, denied that.
Okay, but then what? Why does the agreement say the gross value of? Why does the agreement say that the gross value of investment is $2 billion? He didn't just say it from his head,
The investment encompasses.
Dr. Ernest, and remember,
of course,
Dr. Hiller was involved in negotiations.
The investments encompasses not just the horse racing track, but there are other things, a bay.
And 200 for the horse racing track before July next year.
Yes.
But if the calculations are based on the $2 billion,
But you
he
see,
has to sell 10,000.
no, but perhaps the calculation, the way that you are approaching this is wrong. Perhaps there's another way of arriving at that.
Agreed. Then the Prime Minister must explain.
Right.
He must explain. You see?
Yeah.
That's always.
I get you.
Understand?
I
So
get you.
that's when he said, if the Prime Minister had said, listen to me, and I think that's what Dr. Anthony was trying to say. That's what he said. If the Prime Minister had said, listen to me, guys, leader of the opposition, why did you guys sign that agreement? You think I would say, Prime Minister, I will speak to you? I'd never do it.
You know what I find?
I have a responsibility to the people of St. Lucia and the people of the Labour Party.
You know what I find very intriguing about this whole thing? And it's almost paradoxical. Because one of the things about Dr. Anthony's administration, there's always been a sense that everything was done in secret. And it is still very interesting it's like an about turn, that you do have concerns about the way this whole deal is being negotiated. And what is coming out this evening, to a certain extent, is that you would like to have Alan Chasney, Prime Minister, come out and explain to the opposition, and explain to the people of St. Lucia what is really going on.
And that has been our position from the beginning, you know. You must understand, any statement we have made, we've said we not oppose, you know. All what we've said is the agreement is a bad agreement. And we've been clear and consistent. Ernest Hilaire is the spokesman on investment. He's been clear, he's been precise, and he's been concise. He said all the time, listen to me, we are not against the investment, but we think it's a bad agreement and it should be renegotiated. CIP. Good. A passport. Dave, Mr. Chairman, it's a very important document, you know that.
Oh, yes.
You may recall
Prize document.
a prize document. You remember the whole about is a for a few years when people get the passport, right?
I remember.
And the the UDP won our backs and things. And we said, oh man, the UDP never understood the UDP at the time when in opposition, and that's a bad thing for our system. The UDP when in opposition, they never explained to people why they had so many problems in getting passports. They never did it. They just on our back and this and that. When we are doing the CI now. The sale of passports started wholesale in Malta, right? Where that's it started wholesale. But before, the Americans sold passports, Canadians sold, the English sold passports. If you have a certain amount of money investment, you buy a passport.
Yeah.
Good, fine.
Yeah.
St. Kitts was the first country in the region that started to sell, the passport sale. And
Successfully too.
And they did very well until recently. They did very well. But there were some problems.
A lot of problems.
Some people got passports they're not supposed to get.
Especially people from the Middle East.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now you may
And
recall,
Asia.
and talking about, and something I forgot to tell you, I was the one who introduced international financial services to St. Lucia.
Yeah.
I'm the one who brought the whole legislation in the parliament. So when I'm talking about preparation to be prime minister, all that is in my CV. You understand? All that's in my CV. You understand? Now, so he said this to me, Dr. Anthony, and he'll admit, and he was not the only one, was always reluctant on the passport sale. Always reluctant. He was always reluctant. But we found ourselves in a situation where investment wasn't coming because of the way things were in the international scene. And right now,
especially since the collapse of the
world financial market,
2008, 2009,
investment wasn't coming.
Yeah.
Because you may recall, between 2011 and 2016, no investment, not through anybody's fault. Alan Chasney tried his best. He went over the country, all over, none. But what has happened is that, so then you had to have a further inducement to incentivize investment. You had to have a further inducement. So that inducement was give these people a passport, which would help them, give them easier movement, because we have an agreement which is called an agreement with the French country. I think it's called Saint-Jean or something so. Which if you have a passport, you can go to Europe with it. I forgot the name of it. I mean, the St. John or something. I can't remember the name. If you can use a passport. So we thought, listen to me, let's further induce people to invest by getting that passport, get them movement, because their passport would not help them. So we called a task force together. The opposition was involved, and we came out with a document which was debated, was tabled and debated. But here's what we did. Listen to me. We're not going to give you our passport just so. You must bring some value to the country for your passport. So it must be worth $3 million. It must be worth, your net worth must be $3 million US at least. Secondly, you need to have some investment in St. Lucia, either in a villa or in a hotel, not in a horse racing track. A villa or in a hotel, have some investment.
A property.
A property. Or you must buy government bonds to get our passport. But the least you can do, the least value is $200,000 US.
Could I make a comment?
Please.
The fact that you have CARICOM and where the person who is investing
Who has a passport?
in Dominica, in St. Kitts Nevis, in Grenada, are automatically residents of the Eastern Caribbean. And so why would somebody want to invest in a passport, a CIP worth $3 million when they can go to Dominica and get one for $100,000?
That is why we
Are you going to get people? Would that attract people?
we're going to attract people we want. Only 500 of the best. So a man will want to buy a St. passport because it's got some value.
But how do you categorize the best? Because
He would have gone through a serious due diligence process. Serious. He'd have been able to prove he has $3 million, and he would have some. He'd want to invest in the country.
So you're saying that because the agreement has changed somewhat, and Mr. Chasney has brought it down to $100,000 US.
It's nothing now.
That we're going to attract the wrong people.
We can. Because it's nothing. 100,000, and in the DSH agreement, it's within 5 weeks that we get to them. Due diligence in 5 weeks, and I'll tell you something. Let me make a prediction to you tonight.
I find $3 million very, very steep. I understand your point about attracting the right investors, but given the competition that is very, very obviously going on within the region, Dominica, Antigua, St. Kitts Nevis, and so on, it kind of makes you wonder how.
Our CIP program, Dave, was not a revenue earning measure. It was an investment earning measure. And that's the difference. And if you look at all the reports of the IMF, how the IMF complemented our thing, because it wasn't been revenue, it was been investment. It was to expand investment and employment, etc., through that program. Right? And we had what we call a National Development Fund for the country. So that's right. So the fundamental difference between their CIP and our CIP was exclusive, and our CIP was for special people. Now, the government's found itself in a situation where they have lost, right now, $52 million because of the reduction of VAT. You understand? The airport tax. And people never seem to remember. I stood in the parliament, I said to the government, do not increase the airport tax in that way, because the elasticity of demand for travel is very elastic, that people would have second funds come to your destination based on the price, the taxes you put on travel.
So was that the reason why the Labour Party took out the airport tax when it came back in power?
I'll come back to that very shortly, because I want to talk about the airports.
Wow. Let's take a break. And we need to, at some point in time, welcome. I'm sure there are a lot of people
No, but
just waiting for an opportunity
but you see,
to
Dave,
ask a few questions.
this thing is so interesting. I think we should come back next week for the question. Because I want to make this. I want to be, because we don't get sidetracked with questions, because the questions will go. I want to get, because these things are important things, and then part of the things people say is that they never heard.
So you want, if we do not take questions, I mean, I've made a promise to some people. Could we maybe at least get 2 calls or 3 calls? But if you want to come back next week,
we can do the questions.
I would be very, very happy.
We can do this next week. Yeah.
So that could be a part 2.
Yeah, we can do the part 2.
So that's a promise.
That's a promise.
Okay. Let's take our final break. You are viewing Mr. Chairman. I'm here with the leader of the opposition and the political leader as well of the St. Lucia Labour Party, SLP. We'll be back in a short while. Don't you go away. Welcome back. I'm David Samuels, and I'm here with the Honorable Phillip J. Pierre, leader of the opposition and political leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And I was told by one of Mr. Pierre's assistants that he's also the parliamentary representative for Castries East. Thank you very much, Madame. Thank you very, very much. So I thought we should throw that in. I want to be very clear to some of my viewers. I will just allow a couple of calls just to give the program a little bit of, character. And Mr. Pierre has graciously agreed to come back next week, and we will devote a lot of the time next week to, you quizzing him. So we're going to open the lines. I'd like to suggest, as I always do, that you can't just call us and sit on the phone for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. I'll be very blunt. I'm not going to allow it. So be very brief, 30 seconds, ask your questions, and please get off the phone. 30 seconds, max. The lines are opened, just 2 callers, and we will continue the discourse with Mr. Pierre next week, where we will open the lines maybe for about half an hour to 45 minutes. 451-9349, 453-1730. Anybody there yet? Anyone there?
Yeah.
Okay, there's one at Union. Okay, Union Terrace, thank you very much. We appreciate your call. Hi.
Good evening, Dave.
Good evening. Yes.
First of all, let me identify myself, because I know I'm being told that I call others programs that's not true at all. My name is Lionel Ellis.
Okay, Mr. Ellis, how are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you. And good evening to Mr. Pierre.
Can you be brief, eh?
Yes, I have 3 quick points. I heard Mr. Pierre talk about booths, a place that's not opened in his constituency. And I really am surprised that you would come out here as leader of the opposition and talk about that when we just came out of an election where his party allowed booths to be closed for over 3 years in Babonneau that were opened, that were finished.
Lionel,
and opened, yeah?
Could we deal with that specific subject next week?
Okay,
Let's
fine.
move on to point 2 quickly.
The second and third point quickly, Dave, please, is that I really also want the time to talk about what St. Lucia got in the Jufali affair. Just a promise. A promise. And if you can tell us what we got apart from a promise.
Okay.
And then secondly, what did he say to Dr. Kenny Anthony when he was referring to the SLP versus the Chasneys? Because that is a sticking point in my mind that should never happen from a prime minister, a leader of a political party.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You want to make a comment on that?
Yeah,
Jufali, very quickly.
Jufali is very simple.
Yes.
Jufali is a renowned businessman. There's been absolutely no stain on his character. He was appointed a diplomat. He was the first person, who was ever appointed to the IMO as a diplomat.
Why weren't we told about it?
Fine.
We had to hear about it
Fine.
en passant
That's
because
not a
the
problem.
British press.
That is very easy to. That is very, very, very easy to answer. First of all, the IMO is not an organization that is current. How many people heard about the IMO before?
I heard about it.
Good. Because you are knowledgeable, right?
Yeah.
Fine. The IMO is not. It wasn't. But what has happened? What has happened with Dr. Jufali? The government position had always been very clear. It had said that it cannot base its diplomatic situation on private affairs. As it said, let the courts decide. As soon as the court decided, it happened. What they wanted us to do is the government interfere in the man's domestic affairs. The government interfered. The government position was clear. You go to court and allow the court to decide. The court decided and the government yielded. Why is that such a big... But was Jufali ever accused of any criminal wrongdoing?
Of course not.
Exactly. And Jufali, in the short time, he did two important things for St. Lucia. He gave St. Lucia a research in terms of scientific research. His people came down and they prepared the bill. St. Lucia in the parliament now. This Al-Shasta government can work on that bill. It's a bill that can allow scientific research to happen in St. Lucia. And the second one was the diabetics clinic that hasn't come. So you must understand.
Do you think it's ever going to come?
That is up to the government now.
Okay.
But
And
the scientific research bill is there for the
Yes.
government to deal with.
And his talk about what did you say to Dr. Anthony? There was a comment he made concerning Dr. Anthony and yourself.
And myself?
Well, yes. The second question Mr. Ellis
But
raised.
if Dr. Anthony made a comment, how would he ask me to ask him what Dr. Anthony said?
Let's
I
go
can
to-
answer himself.
Let's go to Marsha. Hi, Marsha. Good evening. And that's your constituency. Hi. Marsha.
Hi, Brother Dave. Good evening.
Good evening.
And to your guest, Mr. Pierre, I guess you should have advised the champagne.
Oh, the man, Champagne. He was my
Yeah,
guest
how
a
you doing,
few...
sir? But
he
I
was-
stayed home all night just waiting, so I have a whole lot of issues I have to bring out on your program. But then
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Could you just ask him one question? Because like he's promised to come back next week, and I'd rather the questions come to him next week. But I'll allow you just a few seconds to ask him a question tonight.
Okay, well, I heard the member said that he had reformed his constituency. And I would really like to ask him in which regard, because I would like him to give me a little idea of what he did in regard to housing. And that is just one of those I would really like to ask him. I would like to ask him what did he for the upliftment of the way people live in Cashew, especially Marshall and its environment. But I'll wait for next week, so I have the other questions to ask. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
I mean, this question is so basic that what does a parliamentary rep do for housing? Who does the land tenure system in the constituency is a problem? In the Bagatelle area, we started a process of allowing people to buy the land in which they have their houses. This whole Bagatelle area, it's an area that is owned by private individuals, and there is a conflict. The government we wanted to acquire the land in Bagatelle. We could not because it's a family conflict. We started the surveying by a fellow called Wendell Phillips, and Phillips died. You know Wendell Phillips?
Oh, yeah.
He died, right? Mrs. Swiss was involved in it. So this housing thing is a long story that is just a political gimmicks. In terms of the George Charles Boulevard, inside of there, the people who own these houses, they do not live in there. These people have moved out. It's a constituency that's got a lot of migration, so people have moved out. But I can tell you, in terms of basic infrastructure, when I came into government, and it would take me 2 years to outline the things I have done in Cashew East. I can outline, but that's not time for that. And I expect questions from him about how these are things about housing. Okay, what did John Compton do in Muco about housing? Answer the question. So these questions answer. What did John Compton do in Muco about housing? He was parliamentary rep for Muco. What did Alan Buski do in Babuno about housing? What did George Mallet do in Central Castle about housing? What did Romanus Lanzico do in Marshall about housing? So these are the governments build housing areas where there's space. When there was space, Independence City was built and Chipo was built. The same way we did Beau Séjour. So this question about housing, these are just things they say that sound good. But I am not afraid to deal with these issues, because these issues can be answered.
Okay. Our final caller, you are in the north. Good evening, caller.
Good night, Dave. I think I'm honorable. With regards to fees, how you all call it, citizen by investment. $3 million here and $200,000 apparently in Dominica. Considering we fall under the same umbrella, Caribbean what? CARICOM.
Hello, caller. I think we have a problem. Hello, caller. I think we have a problem. What you're doing is you are listening to yourself on television. I'd like to suggest that you turn down.
Sorry, I'm close
you
by. I'm
turn
close by.
down.
I don't want to stay long, sir, because I'm on the phone.
Thank you, bro. Have a good evening, sir. Have a good evening. Thank you very much for calling. Yeah.
So
and that's it.
So these things about...
See what I go through?
Yeah. So these, these
has
things
to be
about,
right. It's his turn.
These things about housing. Listen to me. Let me give you an example. When I came to government in 1997, Cassius East, there were parts of Pave with no electricity, In the Bagatelle area, in the Arundel area, people used to have their shoes. There was a set of shoes by the side of the road. People used to have 2 pairs of shoes, If you go into these areas now, and what makes me happy is when I travel and I meet people from these areas, and they say to me, Phillip J. Pierre, you've really transformed these areas. You've transformed it. You've improved the quality of life. You've improved the quality. So when people talk about housing, these are things that they use just to make it sound. I mean, as a question.
I got a feeling, though, the guy ruffled your feathers somewhat.
No, he didn't. Because that's the thing. You see, first of all, he is a seasoned anti-Phillip J. Pierre campaigner. Yes, he's tried unsuccessfully from 1997. You understand? So there are a few of them like that. So I expect that to happen. But I just want to make the point. And that hasn't worked because the people, I want to thank them for that. I want to thank the people of Cassius East for having the confidence in the parliamentary rep. Because together, we've changed the quality of life for the people of the constituency. There's a lot more to be done, but the resources are scarce. But the resources that we have, we've made life more comfortable for the people of the constituency in many, many, many ways. There's a lot to be done. Like everywhere in the world, there's a lot to be done. But I can assure you that the people in the constituency can tell you, within my representation, they've seen tangible changes in their quality of life.
Since you're coming back next week, I'll ask you one final question, and it's this. How are you coping in your new role as opposition leader / leader of the Labour Party? How has it been? How challenging has it been? What would you like to perhaps give us some indication as to what bugs you? Are things going according to plan? Is it a lot bigger than you thought? I mean, could you just elaborate on some of the challenges?
First of all, Dave, I really want to thank the people of the Labour Party, the leadership of the Labour Party, for the confidence they've displayed in me. I've had nothing but full cooperation from all my MPs, all of them. I've had the cooperation of Dr. Anthony. I've had the cooperation of all my senators, all the executive members, the party generally. I want to thank them for that. They've really given me a welcome that I needed.
Did that surprise you, the welcome you got?
Well, it's not a matter of surprise, but when there's change, there's normally some kind of ruffle.
Yeah.
Our transition was smooth, and with all the rumors of all have not come to pass.
Rumors like what, for example?
The rumor, you know.
That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out.
And I've got everything but cooperation from my MPs. I want to thank them for that. When the people understand the Labour, the task is a huge task. We're dealing with a situation where people want continuous improvement. We just lost an election. We have to build the pieces. But the party is coming together. There are many people who are wanting to run elections for us, which has surprised me. Many young people who are saying, listen to me, who are saying, I want to run for you. Many young people. And which is very interesting. In every constituency, there are people putting their hands up, even at this early stage, and saying, listen, I want to run for you. I believe in what you do. I believe in the Labour Party. I want to run for the Labour Party. And I think that is it's very exciting. The Labour Party intends to be a responsible party. We want at some point to manage St. Lucia, so we're not going. We don't want to mash it up. What we want to do is to have a St. Lucia where everybody can enjoy the benefits from which the country has to give. So I want to stand there for that support, and I want to tell the people of St. Lucia that the Labour Party doesn't believe it always has to be in government. The Labour Party believes in democracy, and the Labour Party respects the will of the people. But respecting the will of the people does not mean that the Labour Party will just sit idly by. Donald Trump, while he was being inaugurated, there were people protesting in the great United States. Whilst he was being inaugurated, government is not about giving people chances. You don't give people chances in government. When you come into government, prepared for your program and you launch it. This party will not be in any way be obstructionist. There are certain things that we feel dearly about. We feel dearly about the NICE program. We feel dearly about these hundreds of women who will not be getting a salary, hopefully. We feel very strongly about it. You understand? We believe that the government should find some means of allowing the NICE program to continue. Because these are people's livelihoods. You understand? So any excuse about the program was for 6 months is irrelevant at this point. What's happening now is the people are at work, and then we believe that they have a right to work. So we feel very strongly about it. So we're going to oppose stringently any effort to send these people at the house, at their homes. The Labour Party feels very strong about it. But the Labour Party is not obstructionist. We will not obstruct the government because we lost the elections. We're going to offer criticisms. We've asked the government to work with them on certain issues. We said to the government, let's work together on the delisting issue, where it will be very difficult for us to be able to get our checks changed. I said to the government, we can work on a matter of airline travel. We can work on crime, because we're not obstructionists.
It's crime. Crime is very, very
We're
critical.
not obstructionists, you understand? Yeah. And we will not do what was done to us when we were in opposition. When we were in opposition, when we were in government, nothing we did was right. Nothing. We got support on nothing.
But that's politics.
No. Well,
that's politics. You know that.
It's
you
politics.
Are a seasoned politician,
politics
so that should not
when
surprise
the Labour
you.
Party is in government.
That should not surprise you.
So why are people saying when the Labour Party is in government? You know, it's a surprising thing. When the Labour Party is in government, people expect the Labour Party to do all things perfectly. And when the United West Party is in government, people make all kinds of excuses. Give the guys a chance.
That's not fair.
That is very fair.
That's not fair. I think both sides get blows all the time. You know, I don't think.
Dave, when we were in opposition, the United West Party gave us everything we did was wrong. You know, everything we did was wrong.
So you got no credit for anything.
Nothing.
At all.
And check it out. Even when they agreed on the Boundaries Commission, they took us to court. Even when 2 of the members signed the bottom line on the Boundaries Commission, they still took us to court.
But there's a story about that, eh?
No, there's no story.
Well, we'll talk about it next week.
There's no story.
We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
In closing, I wanted to address your Castries East constituents. Look into the camera and charm them, because I know you have a lot of charm, Phillip. You have a lot of charm. Talk to your people.
You see, Dave, these people and me, we go so far back. We go so back. You know, you must understand that I'm just a few minutes away from them, you know. You understand? I'm part of them. When the rain falls, it doesn't fall on one man's house, it falls on mine. When they have the pain, I have it also. So these people are my people. They are my family. They are my friends. They are children who went to my Christmas parties. And now they are doctors. And they work in the banks. And he said to me, Mr. Pierre, I remember you. They are children that we gave bursaries. And this is what satisfies me. That's why I'm in politics. Politics hasn't made me wealthy. I'm not politics. I'm not wealthy. I will never be wealthy.
That surprises me.
And it's a fact.
That surprises me.
And it's a fact.
Okay.
You understand? So I can say it loudly. I can say it loudly. I'm not wealthy.
But you're comfortable.
I live
You're
a life.
comfortable.
I
Say
live
that
a
now.
life.
Say
I
that
live
now.
a life
I'm comfortable.
that is befitting like you. You understand? So these people, I love them. I want to thank them.
Yeah.
My message to them is one of thanks. They've entrusted me with their lives for 20 years. This year will be 20 years in parliamentary representative for Calabash TV. You understand? And then, regardless of all the criticisms, regardless of all the negatives, all the lies and the innuendos and the half-truths, and the fact that they've ostracized me when I'm in opposition, they've refused to give me anything. Like now, these people stood by me. I want to thank them for that. I want to tell them that I will work with them so that we can make Calabash TV a better place.
Okay, so we have so much to talk about. The St. Jude Hospital, the EU, Owen King Hospital. There's so many things that are happening. Crime, I'm glad you brought up crime. So next week we will continue this dialogue for maybe about half an hour, and we'll open the lines. We'll be very generous next week, open the lines for an hour and give people an opportunity to frame their questions to you. And of course, I have to tell viewers again and listeners that you need to be able to conduct yourself in a proper manner. And as I have indicated, you can ask your question, make your comment, half a minute, 1 minute, but you cannot sit on the phone. I'm going to be very, very strict about that. Having said that, I want to thank all those people who called this evening. And I want to thank you so very much, sir,
I think we
for
had a
being
good
here.
time. Yes.
And I really look forward to continuing this very interesting discourse next week at the same time. I'm actually very flattered that you have offered and agreed to come back here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, that's it, folks. The first part of a two-part interview. Let me take the opportunity once again to wish all of you happy Independence 38. I know there are some more activities taking place this weekend in various parts of the island. This is David Samuel speaking on behalf of the opposition leader and leader of the opposition, St. Lucia Labour Party, Honourable Phillip J. Pierre. Thank you very much, Randall. Thank you very much, Bernard. We'll see you back here next week. This program will be rebroadcast on Sunday at the same time, 8:30, and on Wednesday morning, sometime in the morning after the morning news. This meeting is adjourned.